How to diagnose and fix Honda. Idle problems in 10 minutes. Step-by-step walkthrough. Imagine pulling up to a stoplight in your Honda Civic, Accord or CR-V. The light's red, you're waiting, and suddenly your car begins shaking, revving up and down like it's breathing unevenly, or worse, it stalls completely. You restart, and it happens again. That sinking feeling in your stomach tells you something's wrong. Idle problems are incredibly common in Hondas, especially older models with higher mileage. But here's the truth. Fixing them doesn't always require a trip to the dealership or an expensive mechanic's bill. With just 10 minutes of hands-on checking, you can narrow down the cause and in many cases solve the issue yourself. This step-by-step walkthrough will take you through the 10 most effective ways to diagnose and fix Honda idle problems. Explain why they happen, what to look for, and exactly how to deal with them. Follow along carefully, and by the end, your car can idle smoothly again without stress or unnecessary spending. Step 1. Understand what normal idle looks like. Before diagnosing, you need a clear picture of what normal idle is supposed to be. On most Hondas, once the engine warms up, idle speed should hover steadily between 650 and 750 RPM. The tachometer needle should stay in place with only tiny natural fluctuations. The engine sound should be smooth and consistent, almost like a steady hum without hiccups. When idle problems arise, the symptoms are easy to notice. The RPM needle bouncing up and down in cycles. Surging idle, where revs climb and drop repeatedly. Rough vibrations felt through the steering wheel, pedals, or seat. Stalling the moment you stop at lights or in traffic. Recognizing these differences is essential, because a driver who knows what healthy idle feels like can spot issues earlier. Early detection prevents further strain on the engine and avoids expensive repairs caused by prolonged poor idling. Step 2. Check for vacuum leaks. Hondas rely heavily on vacuum lines for air-fuel regulation. Even a small vacuum leak can confuse the ECU and throw idle balance completely off. Why it happens. Over time, rubber hoses dry out, crack, or slip loose. Road heat, engine vibration, and age all accelerate this wear. Even a pinhole leak allows extra unmetered air into the intake, which the ECU doesn't account for, leading to unstable idle. How to spot it? Pop the hood and listen carefully. A steady hissing sound is a classic leak indicator. Visually inspect hoses around the intake manifold, brake booster, and PCV system. Look for cracks, loose ends, or collapsed hoses. Spray carb cleaner or soapy water lightly around suspect areas while the engine idles. If the RPM suddenly changes, that's where the leak is. Fix. Replace brittle hoses with fresh rubber lines or tighten loose clamps. It's cheap, fast, and often resolves idle issues instantly. Extra tip. Hondas over 10 years old almost always have at least one failing hose. Replacing them proactively prevents vacuum leaks from surprising you later on. Think of it as affordable preventive maintenance that keeps the idle smooth. Step 3. Inspect and clean the idle air control valve, IACV. The idle air control valve is the gatekeeper of idle. It adjusts how much air bypasses the throttle plate, keeping the engine stable at low RPM. Problem: carbon buildup clogs the IACV's passages, reducing airflow. This makes the ECU struggle to stabilize idle. Symptoms include revs that bounce, stalling when warm, or idle that changes as the engine heats. Quick test. With the engine idling, unplug the IACV's electrical connector. If the idle doesn't react, the valve is likely clogged or failing. Fix. Locate the IACV on the throttle body. Remove it carefully without damaging the gasket. Spray throttle body or carb cleaner into the passages until deposits dissolve. Let it dry completely before reinstalling. This 10-minute cleaning can restore smooth idle almost instantly. If it doesn't, replacement is simple and usually costs under $150 extra inside. Hondas are more sensitive than many cars to IACV problems. Cleaning the valve every 30,000 miles as part of regular maintenance prevents idle instability and reduces strain on the ECU. Step 4. Clean the throttle body. A dirty throttle body is another top culprit for idle problems. Carbon coating the throttle plate disrupts airflow at low RPM, making the engine stumble or shake. How to do it. Disconnect the intake hose. Spray throttle body cleaner onto a rag. Avoid soaking directly. Gently wipe the throttle plate edges and surrounding. Bore until clean. Reattach the intake hose and restart the engine. Result: idle stabilizes. Throttle response becomes crisp and acceleration improves. You may even notice smoother gear shifts because airflow balance is restored. Pro tip: if the plate sticks slightly when you press the gas pedal, that's a clear signal it's overdue for cleaning. Performing this simple maintenance once or twice a year keeps the idle consistent and prevents hesitation on takeoff. Step 5. Test the MAF or MAP sensor. Depending on your Honda's design, you'll find either a MAF sensor, mass airflow, or a MAP sensor, manifold absolute pressure. Both measure incoming air so the ECU delivers the correct fuel mixture. Symptoms of a dirty, faulty sensor: rough, inconsistent idle that doesn't improve after warm-up. Check engine light showing air-fuel ratio or sensor codes. Hesitation when pressing the gas pedal or delayed throttle response. Quick check. For MAF, unplug the sensor while idling. If the idle suddenly smooths out, the MAF is dirty or failing. For MAP, check the vacuum hose connected to it. Then carefully clean the sensor's port. Fix: use MAF cleaner, never carb cleaner, to gently spray the thin sensor wires. For MAP sensors, use electrical contact cleaner on the sensor and its connectors. Cleaning often restores proper readings and smooth idle immediately. If not, replacement is simple and cost-effective compared to ongoing poor fuel economy and rough performance. Step 6. Check the EGR valve. The exhaust gas recirculation, EGR valve, reduces emissions by sending some exhaust gases back into the intake. But when this valve sticks open or clogs with carbon, the idle quickly goes haywire and becomes unstable. Symptoms: rough idle, especially once the engine warms. Up sudden stalling when coming to a stoplight or slowing. Down, check engine light with an EGR flow malfunction code. Fix: remove the EGR valve carefully. Clean heavy carbon deposits from the valve and intake passages using carb cleaner and a brush. Reinstall with the gasket intact to prevent leaks. Many Honda idle problems are traced back to nothing more than a dirty or sticking EGR valve. Keeping it clean not only improves idle, but also maintains proper emissions performance. Step 7. Look at fuel delivery. Idle isn't just controlled by air, it also depends on steady fuel supply. Weak fuel delivery can starve the engine at low RPM, making it stumble, shake, or even stall without warning. Quick checks: turn the key to the on position. A faint humming noise from the fuel pump means it's working. Silence is a major clue of failure. Add a high-quality fuel injector cleaner to the gas tank to remove buildup that restricts fuel spray. If issues remain, use a fuel pressure gauge to measure pump and regulator health, since low pressure almost always causes rough idle. Poor fuel delivery is often overlooked, but it's a major factor in Honda idle issues. Addressing it early saves the injectors and prevents stress on the pump. Step 8. Inspect spark plugs and ignition. Bad spark equals bad idle. Old, fouled, or worn-out spark plugs create misfires that make the car shake and stumble at idle, reducing performance and fuel efficiency. Check, remove plugs, and examine carefully. Black and sooty tips mean the engine is running too. Rich, white, and crusty deposits point to a lean fuel. Mixture oil-coated plugs often signal deeper internal problems. Fix: replace spark plugs if worn or fouled. Inspect ignition coils as well. Swap coils between cylinders to see if the misfire follows. Healthy spark is critical for smooth idle. Replacing plugs on schedule keeps the engine firing evenly and prevents long-term ignition system damage. Step 9. Reset the ECU after cleaning and repairs. Resetting the ECU helps it relearn idle parameters. How to do it: disconnect the negative battery cable for 10 minutes. Reconnect, start the engine, and let it idle without touching the gas. Take a short test drive. This forces the ECU to recalibrate with fresh sensor data. Step 10. when to seek professional help if. None of these fixes solve it. The issue may be deeper. Worn timing chained belt. Failing ECU, internal engine damage. At this point, professional diagnostics with advanced scan tools are necessary. Extra prevention tips: use quality fuel to minimize carbon buildup. Replace air filters on schedule. Clean throttle body and IACV every 30,000 miles. Inspect vacuum hoses yearly. These simple steps prevent 90% of idle problems before they start. Honda. Idle problems can feel overwhelming, but as you've seen, they often come down to simple issues like dirty sensors, clogged valves, or small vacuum leaks. By following this 10-minute step-by-step walkthrough, you can diagnose the cause, fix it yourself, and avoid spending hundreds at the shop. If this guide helped you, hit the like button, drop a comment below with your experience, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth DIY car repair videos. Your car deserves the best, and with a little knowledge, you can give it just that.